All right, this is a review of the iPhone 6 Plus, and this is an honest review. If you guys are fans of my reviews, you know I like to talk about the honest truths, the the goods, the bads, the uglies of all these devices on the market today. I don't like to pull any punches. I don't like to be biased, and I'm not a fanboy of any particular phone or operating system. So, if you're in the mood for an honest review of the iPhone 6 Plus, stand by for this. Look at the new phablet from the guys at Apple in this iPhone 6 Plus honest review. What's funny about this review is it's actually going to be pretty fast because in typical Apple fashion, an iPhone is an iPhone is an iPhone, and they don't really like to introduce huge new features with each of their new releases. And so, the biggest thing about the iPhone 6 Plus is the sheer big size of it. The fact that it's a 5.5-inch display and that it's a beast of a phone. Apple's finally released a phablet device, a flagship device. That has a very substantial size footprint and is a very large cell phone. And so this phone, when you compare it to the rest of the Apple iPhone lineup, I've got an iPhone 6 here. You can see that this is a monster. I mean, it is huge. Most people are typically familiar with the smaller size iPhone 5, 5S, and 4S. The 6 Plus puts those to shame. It is just gigantic in size. And it's something you really have to take in consideration when you're thinking about buying this phone. Is simply the fact of, is it too big? Is it going to be able to fit in my hand easily? And as a person who has average size hands, my hands are 7.4 inches and I think average is 7.6 or something like that. I can tell you for certain that this phone, while it does offer some usability features like the double tap to sort of shrink the screen, it is a bit too large for one-handed use. You definitely have to use two hands to reach some parts of the screen and to do certain functions, or excuse me, to use certain functions and features of the phone. Touch ID does still work quite easily with one thumb. You do have to do a little bit of jostling and get that power button, and then down here, or just use the home button, as your power button and hold with Touch ID. Touch ID does work. It's probably the simplest one-handed feature of the device. Otherwise, you're going to do a lot of shuffling back and forth, between being able to reach certain things. And the phone is rather slippery, and the design of it does tend to want to sort of fall out of your hand onto the ground. And so the sheer size of this phone is something you're going to have to consider when purchasing it. I think a lot of people are going to have a tough time deciding whether they want to use the 6 or the 6 Plus. And I think that the size is the biggest difference. Hardware-wise, they're very similar. One of the other big things you have to take into consideration is the 6 Plus does offer an optically image stabilized lens over the iPhone 6. What that means is that's going to allow handshake to be diminished in terms of your photographic capability. So it doesn't slow down or stop blur from happening from moving objects. It only stops blur from your hand actually doing the shaking. And so that's a pretty big plus for the Plus over the standard iPhone 6. But getting the 6 out of here for now, you're just going to talk about the fit, the finish, the build of this phone. Fantastic, typical Apple quality, beautifully designed, round edges, the screen sort of wraps around the side, a joy to hold on to, feels well balanced in your hand. The camera bulge is sort of ugly. I don't really know why they didn't recess that into the phone a little bit differently. So that does have a tendency to drag on the ground, or not on the ground, but on your tabletops. And so you might want to think about a case to prevent the screen from getting scratched up. But definitely feels solid, definitely feels premium. One thing people have been talking about is their phone's bending, and I think that if you apply a little bit of pressure on this phone, it will bend. And if you definitely put this in your back pocket and sit on it, it will bend. And so it's not a huge deal if you don't do certain things. I mean, if you drop the phone and the screen breaks, well, that's just a fact of life. If you sit on your phone and it bends, well, that's just a fact of life too. So take care of your devices. They're expensive. They're not made to be sat on. They're not made to be dropped. Just put a case on it or do whatever you have to do to prevent the phone from becoming damaged while in your possession. Again, talking more sort of about just the overall feel of the phone, it's a great device. It feels natural in your hand. It feels premium. I really, really, really like how the phone feels, albeit it is a bit too large. I personally prefer the 6. I like just the fit, the finish, and the size of the 6 because I can definitely reach most things. It's still a little bit too big, but 4.7 for me is a sweet spot. I think 4.7 is probably perfect. I can reach most things without too much of a shuffle. It doesn't feel too slippery because I can wrap my hand around it for most things. The 6 does have a tendency to slip and slide just like the 6 Plus, but overall the smaller factor in the 6 to me is a little bit easier to hold on to. Getting into now sort of the software, it's iOS 8. This is not going to be a review of iOS 8. This is more talk about the 6 Plus and what makes it so great. The 6 Plus does have sort of other features in it that will allow you to use it as more of a tablet device. You can see it rotates and you have your home row here and now your apps here. And so that's kind of a neat feature to have. Again, I talked a little bit briefly about reachability, the fact that you can double tap the home button and the icons shift down. And so you can, makes it easier to reach with your thumb. But otherwise, that's all you're really going to see in terms of the phone's ergonomics and its ability to be used in one hand or with other software features. If you compare this to, say, the Galaxy Note phone, here's a Note 4. The Note has the great stylus, right? And so the fact that you can actually take the stylus out of the phone and then use a pen to either take notes or to do certain other features of the software is a really nice added touch. The iPhone 6 Plus does lack a stylus and does lack the ability to have any sort of add-on like that. Of course, you can buy an aftermarket stylus, but it doesn't fit nicely into the body of the phone. Otherwise, the software is typical of everything else that Apple makes. It's just another iPhone. It has your same layout of grids, no widgets like Android, no sort of customizability, no features that you can add on your own. It doesn't have default app settings. It's boring. It's typical of what Apple makes in terms of its, iOS. There's no glaring new feature that you can say, wow, this iPhone is so cool because it does this. It's just another iPhone. And as much as I like to make fun of Apple for that, they do make a really good quality product. I mean, this is still the best iPhone that Apple makes, and in conjunction with the iPhone 6, the 6 and the Plus, 6 Plus are obviously the best iPhones that Apple can make right now for 2014, 2015. And the 6 Plus is a great phone. It really comes down to screen size and how big of a device you want. The camera is fantastic. The optical image stabilization works great. The camera quality is fantastic. The ability to capture images in focus is outstanding. Probably one of the best cameras on the market right now is inside the iPhone 6 Plus. So definitely take that in consideration if you want a camera, or, if you want a phone as your sort of primary camera, if you want something that you can keep in your pocket, and use all the time. This is a great device for that. Otherwise, the body is very thin. It's very sleek. Definitely has that sort of premium Apple look and feel to it. Really nice to look at. The screen is big. It's bright. It's beautiful. LCD IPS to me gives the best sort of color reproduction. I really like this phone compared to, say, an AMOLED screen on a Motorola or even the AMOLED on the Note 4 series. Note has really, really bright, bold colors, but a little oversaturated for me. More natural looking colors, I think, in the iPhone 6 Plus. So probably the last thing I need to add about this review is just you really do have to take in consideration how big this phone is and what it's going to mean for you in terms of your everyday user experience. I want you guys to really think about how you use your phones. It might immediately be drawn into the fact that, like, wow, well, bigger screen must be better, right? Well, think about how you use your device. For me, I like to use my device one-handed. And what I mean by one-handed is if I'm sitting at my desk, for example, right, I want to have one hand on the mouse and be doing things on my computer, multitasking, and be able to answer a phone or answer a text with one hand on this device while I'm doing other things. Another example would be if I'm walking a dog or walking down the street and have a cup of coffee. I want to be able to keep doing something in this hand, right, and then make an operation with my phone, answer a text, etc. I don't want to have to put the cup of coffee between my legs and then use two hands on my phone, or hold the dog in my between my legs and then use two hands on my phone. I want to be able to use the device one-handed. And so while you immediately might think that bigger is better and I really want to see what a big screen phone is like, just take into consideration how you use your device first. And if you don't mind using your device two-handed, then this phone is fantastic for that ability. And you'll really, really, really be stunned, I think, at how awesome the iPhone 6 Plus really is and how great Apple has done in terms of their design of this device and the camera quality and the apps in iOS are great. They just put together a really, really, really nice product. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to check out everything else I have on YouTube, including a review of the iPhone 6 and a review comparing this to the Galaxy Note 4, and rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks.